In this video, we're going to do a get ready with me using mostly Lisa Eldridge products for New Year's Eve 2023. So I've already applied my skincare quite a while ago now, a good 30 minutes or so ago. I won't go through all my skincare now, but I will list it down below in the description box. But I wanted to mention a new product that I'm using on my lips, and this is thanks to one of my fantastic subscribers, and she recommended for dry lips the Lansinoh HPA Lanolin Nipple Cream. And I'll tell you what, when my daughter saw me using this the other day when she was round at Christmas, she was like, "What are you using, Mum?" It's definitely replaced any other lip cream that I've been using, and it really does the business. So thank you so much for recommending it. So having got my skincare on and my nipple cream on my lips, we're now going to use the Smashbox Primerizer Photo Finish, this product here, which I am absolutely loving. I think it's a great product, and I've always been rather skeptical of primers and face primers in particular. I think I'd tried a few and they were a bit sticky. I think the thing was they weren't suitable for my skin. My skin is normal. It's not usually dry, although it has been super dry of late, or at least it's had very dry patches. But it's calmed down a lot now due to the skincare I'm using. And let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do a skincare review, what I'm using at the moment, because I have changed up what I'm using. But anyway, this primerizer is the business, and I did actually talk about it briefly in my video about my wedding makeup. Not my wedding, but a wedding that I went to. So I'm just going to apply it on my complexion, and it's a nice kind of, what would you call it? It's sort of, it's not really a gel and it's not a cream. It's kind of a lotion, I suppose, a clear lotion. And it does feel really lovely on the skin, and you can go in straight away with your foundation. And I think I am going to start with my foundation before I apply my eye products, because I actually prefer it, even though I know a lot of makeup artists suggest that you actually do your eyes first. I just don't really feel comfortable with that, particularly when I'm doing my under eyes. If I want to put some colour under here, it just feels a bit weird not having the concealer and powder under there first, even though I know you might have some fallout. Anyway, that's what we're going to do today. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that we're primarily using high-end products, and even more primarily, if there is such an expression, we're going to be using Lisa Eldridge products. Now, I don't have a full face of Lisa Eldridge, so I can't do that, but I do have some new products which Mr. Des, or him indoors as I like to call him, bought me for Christmas. So I thought we might trial some of those. They might be a little bit scary, but stay till the end and you'll see what I mean by that. So without further ado, let's start with the foundation, and I'm going to mix two colours. I'm going to mix the 14 and the 13. I bought the 14 and I did a video about that, which actually was the most popular video I've ever done on my channel, which was years ago, well, it was over 2 years ago now. And it was just when the foundations had come out and I got the cards, and I chose the shade 14. But then I went into the store about a year ago and they said I should have a 13, which was interesting. So I decided to buy a 13. I don't know whether she just said that because she wanted to sell me the product. I don't know. But anyway, because I've got neutral skin, I think, to be fair, you could mix a 14 and a 13. So that's what I'm going to do today. So these are the bottles. If you haven't seen the Lisa Eldridge foundation, this is the which one is this? This is the 13. I'll swatch them for you before I put them on my skin. And they come in this beautiful bottle. Give it a good shake. Oops. And the pump is quite stiff, actually. That's the 13 there. And let me show you the 14. Give it a good shake. It's runny-ish. You can see that it started to run down a little bit there. And I think it's a great foundation. It's not the one I reach for all the time, it has to be said, or at least it's not my absolute favourite. My absolute favourite is the Hourglass Ambient. No, well, the Hourglass Foundation. Can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. And I've talked about that many times on my channel. But I'd say this one, as a high end, comes a close second or third maybe, or joint second with maybe the IT or actually the NARS probably comes a joint second with the NARS, but it's a bit different from the NARS. Now I'm going to use my absolute favourite brush, which I've talked about many times on the channel, which is the BK Beauty 101 foundation brush. It's the absolute business. I'll just pick up a bit more of the product from my hand and I'm going to apply it in stippling motions. It's funny, I was looking back over last year's Get Ready With Me for New Year's Eve and I talked about stippling. I think I'd got that from my fantastic friend Maggie D, who is a really good mate on YouTube, and she talked about stippling. She said stippling was particularly good for mature skins, and I think she's right. So if you've never stippled, give it a go. So we've stippled. I mean, I think you could say that is a pretty natural finish on my skin. So it's not too glowy, but it's a little bit glowy. And it just gives a lovely natural sheeny type finish to the mature skin, which we're dealing with here. I'm 69 for those of you who are new to my channel. I think that looks really, really nice. Now I'm just going to get a damp beauty sponge just to make sure that everything is set. Okay, that's the foundation. Right, next we're going to apply concealer, and I don't have a concealer by Lisa Eldridge. In fact, I don't think she does a concealer. So we're going to use the Makeup Forever Ultra HD concealer, this one here. It was recommended by Andreea Ali, and I really enjoy her channel. And in fact, I did a video where I copied the look that she did on a friend of hers who looked a little bit like me. Well, didn't look a lot like me, but she had that sort of wavy hair and was about my age, I think. And I really enjoy doing that. If you want to see that, I'll link that down below for you as well. And I can't remember if she used this concealer in that video, but she definitely recommended it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop a bit on my hand like so I don't pick up too much when I put it on. And I'm just going to use my fingers. I was having a discussion with my lovely friend on YouTube, Tina of Tina's Best Midlife, and we were talking about brushes, and she says she doesn't use a brush for her concealer, and I think I'm with her. I don't find it that easy to apply concealer with a brush, even though I know Angie Hot and Flashy has done a collab with BK Beauty and has a special concealer brush for mature skins. I just can't get on with it really. I like to feel my skin when I touch it I feel my skin when I touch it. Of course I'm going to feel it when I touch it. I like to feel my skin as I apply the concealer. So that's what I'm going to do. And with the excess, I'm just going to pop a bit on my lids because I've been trying the Urban Decay eyelid primer and I just don't find that it really works, because after a few hours everything has melted and I have particularly oily creases, if you know what I mean. And unfortunately, the eyelid primer does not cope with oily creases. So we're going to go back to the tried and tested, the way that I used to do it, which was put concealer on my eyelids and put some powder on and hope for the best. So that's what we're going to do today. Right, this has settled down a bit. So let's just kind of pat and press. Pat and press. That's what we're going to do. Pat and press. Now I'm just going to zoom you in, partly because I want to show you how my eye has improved. It's not quite fully recovered, but almost. And for those of you who don't know, I had an eye operation to correct a problem I had with a lazy eye muscle underneath. And I've still got probably 2 or 3 stitches which haven't yet dissolved, but otherwise it's looking really good. And I think you'd agree that my under eyes look pretty good at the moment. Obviously we haven't put powder on yet, but I think that's a pretty good smooth canvas, or as smooth as it's going to be under my eyes, which are of course 69 years old. Right, now we're going to set that with this e.l.f. setting spray, which I really do think helps to make your makeup last. So this is what I did recently in my wedding makeup video, and I've been trying it ever since, and it really does last. I tried it when I went out with my husband about 4 or 5 days ago. We went into town to a Jamie Oliver restaurant, which I have to say was very disappointing. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is set the concealer and the foundation, and I'm going to use the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder. Now I'm a new convert to this, even though I've had this powder for a long time. I absolutely love it now. My lovely friend, another lovely friend on YouTube, Tamara of Tamara's Timeless Beauty, and I'm sure you know her channel, she's been talking about this powder and using this powder for years, and I think she's right. I finally realised that actually illuminating your under eyes in particular and your complexion really works on mature skin, because I used to use the Charlotte Tilbury powder, which I still love, but it's much more mattifying, and this isn't. So this is what we're going to use today. So just pat it around the eyes and down the T-zone. The great thing about using this powder is that it doesn't take away any glow that you would have had from your foundation. So it is a really good powder. Right, there we are, because I often find that here I get a bit glowy with this sort of fold of skin here, which isn't terribly attractive. Okay, we're going to move to eyes now, or rather eyebrows. And I want to thank a fantastic subscriber of mine who recommended that I use a lighter colour on my brows. I've been really struggling to find a product that I liked on my brows that was the right shade, that was the right consistency, ease of application and all of that. Actually, she recommended a Bobbi Brown shade, which I couldn't find that easily, but I did go into my local Space NK last week and found something very similar. And it's this Hourglass pencil, and of course I'll have all the details linked down below for you. And it's the classic brow pencil. In other words, it's got a nice spoolie on one end. It feels nice and solid, the case does. And on the other end, it's very much like the Bobbi Brown. In fact, I could have got a finer one, but this is the thicker one. It's very much like the Bobbi Brown that I already have. In fact, I've got a couple of hers, but it's a lighter shade. And let me swatch it for you so you can see. Actually, it's funny, it doesn't look that light. Funny, it actually looks quite dark there. But when I put it on my brows, I think you'll see that it looks like just the right shade for me. I could have gone lighter actually, because I looked on the website after I'd been into the store, and there are lighter colours, but I think the assistant who recommended this colour was right. I think it's a really good colour. Of course, I've completely forgotten the name of it, but I will have it linked down below for you. And also, when we talked about the size of the product, did I want a really fine nib, as it were, or a thicker one? Of course, what you can do with this one is you can use the finer bit, the sort of more pointy bit, if you want finer lines. But I'm so cat-handed, I find it easier to have a thicker one. And it is really easy to use because there's enough colour on it as you press. You don't have to press too hard, which is great. I had my brows laminated about, when did I have it done? It was just before I had my eye operation, so late October. And they've lasted really well, I must say. They're still in lamination mode, which basically means if you've never had them laminated, it's basically just straightening them. It's the opposite of a perm, if you like. It's kind of weird when you first have it done, because the hairs on your brows sort of fall down, some of them, because they haven't got any wave in them. It's kind of weird. But of course you can use a gel to keep them in place, which we are going to do in a moment. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to get the spoolie, and I'm going to use my Anastasia, I think it's called Brow Pomade, this one here. And I'm going to, and it's a kind of a gel. And what I'm going to do is dip the spoolie into the gel like so, just gently, not too much. And then I'm going to brush up my brows. Okay, there we are. That's the brows done. Right, now we're going to do our eyes, and this is where I'm going to be using some new Lisa Eldridge products, because my husband bought me some for Christmas. And the first thing he bought me is this new shade, or new to me shade, of Lisa Eldridge Liquid Lurex. And the shade is Angelica, and this is it here. Let me swatch a little bit for you. It's a kind of a pinky bronzy shade, I would say. So we'll use the Angelica, and I think for a darker shade on the outer corner, we're going to use one of the ones that I used last year. We're going to use this one, which I can't remember the name of. I think it might be Zora. And I'll just swatch a little bit for you there. So you can see that's the darker shade. So we've got Angelica at the top and Zora at the bottom. So I am going to use my fingers, I think. Let me just move my hair out of the way, because I find it easier with liquid shadows it can be quite tricky to apply them with a brush, I find, especially if you've got hooded lids, which I have. So I've got the colour. Oh, look how pretty. And I'm just going to go straight in. Okay, I think that's absolutely fine. So now we're going to use the darker colour on the outer corners. So we'll just pick up a bit of the darker colour, and we only need a little bit really. I always like to put the top on in between applications because it dries out otherwise. And we will do some blending afterwards, so. Okay, that's one side. A bit more, oops, not too much. Okay, there we are. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use an eyeliner pencil. Now, I did buy the Eldridge Glide pencil, but I've lost it. I don't know what I've done with it. I must have thrown it away by mistake. So I'm going to have to get hold of another one at some point. But in the meantime, I'm going to use the Beauty Pie pencil, which I've been using for years now, which I really love in Turkish coffee. Right, I'm going to go off camera now and do my eyeliner and mascara, and then I'll be right back and we'll carry on with the complexion and of course the lipstick. Okay, so I've used the Beauty Pie pencil, and I've also used my MAC Stack mascara, which I absolutely love, this one here. Highly recommend it, and definitely one of my holy grail mascaras at the moment. So the next thing we're going to do is apply some cream products and some powder products to my complexion, and I'm going to start with the Merit bronzer, which I absolutely adore. Now, I was gifted some Merit products, not all of them, so some I bought with my own money and some I was gifted, and I was gifted this, but I really do love it. It's definitely become one of my holy grails, and I'm going to be taking this on holiday with me when I go to the Caribbean very soon, because I think taking cream products is going to be the thing in a hot climate. And what I'm doing with it at the moment is I'm actually doing the classic sort of contour thing rather than a bronzer, particularly if I'm going out. So I'm just going to do it here and under my chin. I'm not going to bother putting any up on my forehead or anything. And then I'm just going to blend that out with the damp beauty sponge. And can you see that's just giving me a little bit of definition here, which I like. And then I'm going to go in with the Hourglass bronzer, this one here, which I do love as well. I don't use it all that much at the moment, but I think to set the contour it'll be good. And I'm going to use this BK Beauty brush. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it's quite a good kind of slightly angled flat brush. And that should help to set the bronzer or the contour stick. There we go, I'll just pop a bit up there while we're at it. There we go. Now actually I was going to use a cream blusher, but I'm not. I think I'm just going to go straight in with the powder blusher, which is the Hourglass, another Hourglass Ambient something or other powder, which I absolutely love. Again, I have to thank Tamara for this shade. She recommended it. It's called Mood Exposure, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And I think I'll just use the same brush I used for the bronzer. And it's a lovely kind of muted pink. Look at that gorgeous colour, isn't that beautiful? You can see that it's nice and muted, or relatively muted, so it doesn't really interfere with the colours on the eyelids, which you wouldn't want. But it does give that nice, it's not exactly rosy, is it? But that nice kind of colour, heightened colour on the cheeks. And then we're going to use the Eldridge highlighter, which is this one here, the Crystal Nebula, which again, I must admit, I'm not a huge highlighter user. I tend to only use it on special occasions, and really I should use more of it. And I'm just going to pick up a little bit on my clean finger here. I'm just going to pop it here on the tops of my cheeks, on the tops of my cheekbones, really, like that. And then blend it out with a sponge. We'll just have another quick spray. Just to make sure everything's nicely set, and then we will go into the lipsticks. And finally we're going to do the lipstick. I am a little bit nervous because these are the lipsticks my husband bought me, and when you see the shades you might be a bit horrified because they're pretty dark. But anyway, let me swatch them for you and tell you a bit about them. So the first one is Velvet Midnight, kind of appropriate for New Year's Eve, eh? Now look at this shade. Do you know what? It really reminds me of a lipstick I had years ago. I can't remember exactly what brand it was, but I think I was only a teenager and I was really excited because it was very dark. It was a bit like a Bieber lipstick, and maybe it was a Bieber lipstick actually, because being a dark-haired girl in the 60s and late 60s, early 70s, pale lips were all the rage until Bieber came along and produced their own makeup line, and then we got into the dark lips, which was much more my cup of tea, being a dark-haired person. Anyway, look at this shade here. Can you see that? It's incredibly dark, isn't it? And that's the Velvet lipstick, so they're pretty long lasting. So we've got that, and we've also got the matching lip gloss, the Luxuriously Lucent, which I think is the same. I think that's also called Midnight. It's slightly redder though, more red, but that's it there. Anyway, we're going to give them a go, and we've also got the pencil, which I haven't even taken out of the box yet. And that's also a sort of mulberry colour, isn't it? Can you see? So I think what we'll do is, just for fun, we're going to start with the pencil. Ooh. Yeah, there it is. In fact, let me swatch that for you. Ooh. Oh no! Oh no! Well, that's no good. Oh dear, the top came off. Right, we've sharpened it now. God, that was a bit bad, wasn't it? Right, let's hope that this will work when I apply it to my lips. Oh yeah, there it goes. But actually, as I smooth it, it's not too bad. Not terrible, is it? It's just quite dark and a bit slightly Cruella de Vil. Now, because we want this makeup to be long lasting, we're going to use a pressed powder over the top of my lips before I put any lipstick on. So I'm going to use the Makeup Forever pressed powder, this one here. Just pick up a tiny bit, tap that off, and apply it to the lips, which immediately mattifies them and preps them for the lipstick application. Now, because this colour's so dark, I'm going to apply it with my finger. Right, let's see. I mean, look, it does look absolutely beautiful, doesn't it, in the case? It really does. But just so we don't go too over the top, we'll use our finger. There's going to be a bit of smearing going on, but that's okay. Okay, now we're going to use the Luxuriously Lucent lip colour. And again, I think we'll pick this up with my finger just so that we don't go bonks. And I think what we might do is just apply it to the bottom lip. So what do we think? Now, I've just looked back at the footage and I've decided that actually that gothy type colour on my lips is really too much with this look, and particularly for New Year's Eve. I don't want to give anybody the heebie-jeebies, so we're going to try and find a colour that's a little bit more in keeping with the festive season. Now, last year I wore Velvet Ribbon by Lisa Eldridge, but I think this year we might choose a slightly different colour. So let me have a look at my Lisa lipsticks and see what we can find. So if we wanted to go a bit darker but not too dark, we could choose Velvet Blush, which is this one here, which might work actually. Or we could choose Velvet Pompadour. I love that name so much, which is more pinky. That one, which actually might work really well. We could choose Velvet Beauty, but I think that's too pinky actually, so we're not going to go down that route. Or Sunday Matinee. Let's have a look. I think one of these three. Actually, do you know what? I think Sunday Matinee might just edge it. So we've got Velvet Blush, Velvet Pompadour and Sunday Matinee. And actually we might mix two together. Do you know what? We might try Velvet Blush with that really deep tone mixed with, maybe mixed with Sunday Matinee. Let's give that a go. So I'm going to use my fingers because you can get more of a stain. And let's just pop that on gently. That is nice, isn't it? It is a little bit warm, the tone, but that's okay because we can always cool it down a little bit. Yeah, it might be a little bit too warm, I don't know. It's still a bit dark, isn't it? I think we need to lighten it. So let's go with Velvet Pompadour. See what happens when we do it with our fingers first. Not much, actually. Let's try the bullet. What do we think? Do we like it? But I do think we need a little bit of lip gloss, so let me just go and get some. Now, because the lip gloss that I've got that's Lisa's is too dark, I'm going to use my Merit, which is in Mapleton. Let's just pop a bit of that on just at the bottom. Yeah, I think that's a bit more holiday-ish, a bit more New Year's Eve, don't you think? So here's the finished look, and I went with Velvet Pompadour all over, so pencil and lipstick, and I forewent, if that's the right word, the gloss, because it just doesn't look quite right, at least on camera. It might look better in person. I really like this look, I really do. I think the new Lisa Eldridge Liquid Lurex shade, which I can't remember the name of, but I think it's Angelica, that's right. I'll put it all down below for you in the description box. I think it's really pretty, and I really do like a bit of sparkle on New Year's Eve. Having said that, we're not going anywhere. We've just got a friend coming, but we will get the champagne out and we will have fun and we'll play some music and maybe we'll even play a game. And I'm really looking forward to it. I really hope this video has been fun to watch and possibly helpful as well. And thank you so much for staying till the end. I really appreciate it. And if you've enjoyed this video, I'd be so grateful if you'd give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you get notified each time I upload a video, which at the moment is 6 times a month. And if you can't get enough of me, and who can, then I have a monthly newsletter, and in that I don't just talk about beauty, fashion and lifestyle, but I also talk about books, music, podcasts, TV and all the other bits and bobs that make us happy. And thanks again so much for watching. It means the absolute world to me, it really does. And I hope you're all doing really well and looking forward to a bright future in 2024. Thanks again so much for watching. Happy 2024. Bye.